It's time to build up some orcs from the Battle of Osgiliath box set for Lord of the Rings. Following these instructions, and the important part here is that they said not to attach some of the shields. These need to be left off. So since I want some modularity to it, I will be magnetizing it, and I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to use these 1 by 2 millimeter round magnets to magnetize the shields onto the arms. And because the arms of these orcs are so tiny, I don't want to put the magnet on the arm. Instead, I'm going to shave some of this away and put a thin metal piece here. And I'll show you in a video in the right hand corner how to get those metal pieces. But I would put these little metal pieces, which I have over here in this pack, onto the arms, and then the magnets will go on the shields. Since these arms have some ridges on it and I'm gonna have to use super glue, what I do is I would just shave away some of these ridges just to make a nice flat surface. These are the pieces of steel, and these you can cut up into smaller pieces using sheet metal shears. So what you do is you would just cut, kind of estimate a 2 millimeter strip like this. You can cut this again into another 2 millimeter square. I'm going to apply some super glue right onto the arm here, and then I'm going to put this metal piece right on it. For the orcs with spears, you could potentially put the shield right here if you wanted, or you could put it on his back. Just for a little bit of variation, I'm going to show you how to put it on his back. It's going to be the same kind of thing where you would just kind of scrape off nice flat surface somewhere on the back. It doesn't need to be a lot, kind of like this. And then apply a little bit of super glue to it. Now for the shields, what you would do is you would just apply one of these magnets onto the back of the shield. I just apply a little bit of super glue to it and grab a piece of magnet. And without gluing the shield to your fingers, drop the magnet on and it's kind of push it into position. Just kind of let that super glue cure. Let's test out our models to see if the shields work on them. And there you go. Just like that, you have a shield on the arm, a shield on the back. I'm going to mount them all on a paint stick using some double-sided tape, cheap double-sided tape that you can get from the dollar store. Cut a nice big sheet like this, place it down, and rip it off. So the way you mount the minis is, since the weapons are kind of sticking out, you can't really place them like directly sideways, so you want to put them at about a 45-degree angle. So I continue mounting them, and whatever I can fit in there, I'm going to try to fit 12 on the stick. I have 2 full sticks ready. Next is to prime them and start painting them. I'm going to prime everything in black primer, and I'm going to apply it with my airbrush. And on the stick, it's really easy. Just apply it to all the models down the strip, almost assembly line style like this. Be sure to paint from all sides, top, bottom, back, and cover everything. And also do the same thing for the shields too. I'm going to try to follow the color scheme that came in the book. So I'm going to give them a darkish red uniform, and the skin tones vary from pale to like purple. The models have a lot of silver on the armor and the weapons, so I'm going to blend 50% flow improver with gunmetal, and I am going to zenithal highlight my models with this silver. So applying it mainly from the top and like a 30-degree angle from all angles, I make all the models silver. Also, 2 of the shields look like they're made out of steel, so I make those silver as well. The rest of the shields look wooden, so I just leave them primed black. It's time to paint the uniforms, and I use Dragon Red for this. This is a slightly darker red color, and it suits the dingy look of the orcs. I kept all the models on the paint stick so that I could paint them all in assembly line style. What I would do is I would paint the uniforms all from the front on all the models, and I'd just go down the line. Then I flip to the back, and I do the same thing to the back on the uniforms. And even though it's a little bit hard to get to some of the features, especially when it's in between the models, generally this method is very quick. And it allows you to paint up large horde armies quicker this way. I next switch to leather brown, and this goes on all the spears. I also use this color on the wooden shields, and most of the shields are wooden. There's only 2 shields, or actually 4 shields of the lot that are steel, so those I keep silver. The rest of the shields get the leather brown, which makes them a nice warm wood. For the loose shields, if there were any with some steel periphery, I go ahead and apply some gunmetal to it just to kind of finish it off. There's also some that have a center that's steel. And if I overshot with any of the other colors, I also use the gunmetal to just touch up. I put this brown on the straps in the back, which includes this belt that goes across the waist, and also down at the bottom by the legs, there are straps on the shin guards. For the other areas of the uniform that I wanted to paint black, I took the easy route and I used Army Painter's Speed Paints Grim Black. As usual, it was really easy to lay down, and the only reason I didn't use Speed Paints all the way around was because I zenithal highlighted everything silver and it would have made everything look a little bit too shiny. I kept it simple and I also painted all the hair black. I was following the painting guide, so I tried to take a guess at what colors to put on the orc skin. So I gave myself 4 choices, and I basically alternated from one color on one model, and then I switched to another color on the next model. And I basically varied it down the line with different colors for different orcs. And the skin tones were obviously very interesting. They went from like a pale flesh or necrotic flesh is what I used from Army Painter, and it went all the way up to warlock purples. So it was a pretty interesting mix, and until I put washes on it, I wasn't gonna judge. But it was colorful, like Skittles. Now for washes, I did it a little bit differently this time. I took strong tone and I mixed it 70% strong tone with 30% flow improver, and I applied it with my airbrush. Now there are areas, if I wanted a little bit more shadow, I just sprayed a stronger concentration of the wash onto the model. So this is what it looks like wash with an airbrush versus pre-wash, which is up on top. Now the one thing I didn't notice is that the skin of the orcs didn't really quite take to the airbrush wash very well. They still look very featureless. So I did have to apply wash manually with a brush, but it was a much smaller area. And this technique is really quick, so sometimes I like using this when I'm dealing with horde armies. I'm almost done at this point, so I go ahead and remove all the models from the paint stick, and this allows me a little bit easier access to stuff like eyes. I apply my usual matte white into the eye sockets and also to any exposed teeth on any of the models. I follow this up with a dab of matte black using the sharp tip of a toothpick, and this allows me to put the pupils on the orcs. All that's left after this is some simple material basing, and I use a slightly darker basing material to simulate the darkness of Mordor. So what I do is I just put down some Elmer's glue, spread it around with an old brush, and then I dunk the base into the basing material and it will stick to it. Then I just clean it off the rims, and then after that I go ahead and apply some black primer to the periphery of the rims just to clean it up from any overspray. After the step, I'm basically done. Here are the orcs, all set. Fairly simple paint scheme, but one that gets you on the tabletop fairly fast. And also, the orcs are magnetized, so you can leave them with shields off or shields on. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm going to continue painting up the rest of the Battle of Osgiliath box. Happy hobbying, conquering Middle Earth, and I will see you the next time.